Most people think rent to rent is just one thing, but there are 4 completely different strategies. And if you choose the wrong one for your lifestyle or skills, you're going to struggle. So I've built a full-time income using rent to rent, and now I coach hundreds of students doing exactly the same. Some do service accommodation, some run HMOs, others focus on social housing, and a few just package in deals and flip them for cash. Each one works, right, if you do it right. But each strategy does have its downsides as well, and no one's talking about that part. So in this video, I'm going to break it all down for you. The 4 main rent to rent strategies, the pros and cons of each one, who each strategy is best for, and why most people fail by picking the wrong model at the start. And if you stay to the end, I'll link you to my free training where I show you exactly how to choose the right strategy for you, step by step. Rent to rent service accommodation, or commonly known as SA. So what exactly is this strategy? This is where you rent a property from a landlord or through an agent. You're going to furnish it to a good spec suitable for contractors, holiday makers, travelers, insurance relocators, etc. And then you're going to list it on the likes of Airbnb and Booking.com to earn a short-term income. You're running a business, not just subletting. The good side of this strategy is the income potential is very high. I've got students earning £2,000 to £4,000 profit per unit. And when I say unit, I mean property. This strategy cash flows fast. 1 minute you're thinking, when am I going to cover the bills? And then a booking could come in tomorrow and all the bills are covered. This is a business, so you're in full control of the pricing, the marketing, the upsells. And when I say upsells, that's calling the guest. Do they want to check in early? Do they want to check out late? Collect payment for that. The downsides of this business is you need to be very active. Until you really know the systems and you can systemize it and onboard a virtual assistant, you're going to be calling every guest, make sure they've got the check-in information, so you don't get a phone call at like 10:30 at night. That's very frustrating. They haven't got the check-in information. Where's the lockbox code? I'm telling you now, most guests do leave it to last minute and they will call you at stupid o'clock to get the lockbox code. This business is best suited for someone who's a bit creative, can be organized, loves the element of hospitality. If you can systemize and automate this business, then you can scale fast. But at the start, it's quite hands-on. You need to act fast. You need to stay calm, because sometimes in the heat of the moment, it can be quite overwhelming for most. Strategy number 2, and this is where I started, with rent-to-rent HMO, houses of multiple occupation, like student accommodation. So you're going to rent a property which is already licensed. It's got a HMO license. The compliance is all done. The fire systems and the smoke alarms are all in place. So we don't take a property and turn it into a HMO. So we're going to rent that property and then we're going to sublet it room by room to working professionals and mature students. You become the landlord's middleman and you manage the tenants directly. The good thing about this business is once it's tenanted, the monthly income is very predictable. You know exactly what that property is going to profit. Typically the contracts with the landlords are 3 to 5 years. It's ideal for cash flow and building a long-term base. If you're looking at starting in rent to rent, HMO is very good, because if you look at your income from your job, let's say it's £2,500, the average HMO profits about £600 to £700 per month on a conservative basis. So you would need about 4 or 5 properties to be in a position. So you've instantly got like a goal, a target to achieve to replace your job. With service accommodation, it's heavy due diligence. You can't really predict how many properties you're going to need to leave your job, and obviously it changes month by month. But with HMO, it's once it's fully tenanted and the tenants are paying this much in rent every single month. The downsides is obviously you need to manage tenants, and obviously tenants come with rights as well. Complaints, tenants, you know, they fall out, they're not always going to get on. I've had a 7-bed HMO where 7 tenants, all individuals, you're going to have fallouts and you essentially do become a babysitter. Late rent can also be quite inconvenient because obviously you have bills to pay. So when a tenant does pay rent late, or it's gone 2 or 3 days past when the rent was due, you need to have systems in place to kick things off immediately, because obviously you have bills to pay. So you need that money coming in to be able to do guaranteed rent from your side. Another downside that could potentially play into it is the HMO licensing rules vary between councils. There's lots of compliance. That's why I always say let's just go for compliant buildings already. Then the landlord's got that in place. They're responsible for their own property and the compliance. You're just here to manage the tenants and pay guaranteed rent. So this strategy is great for people who like structure, patterns, stability. They understand their role. You're just here to manage tenants. The landlord manages the compliance on the property. And the best part of HMO is you can predict the income. You know what's coming in every single month. Strategy number 3 is rent-to-rent social housing. This is where you rent a property. It depends on the compliance of the property and what you need to agree with the social housing provider, whether it's your job to get it compliant or not. Then you lease it it to the housing provider, the care company, or supported living organization. Then it's their job to house the tenants on your behalf. The good sides of this is there's no tenant management. The provider does that. Leases can vary drastically from 3 years to 10 years. It's consistent income backed by government funding as well. So it's very hands-on at the start, obviously because you're building relationships and going out on viewings. And then if and when you want to, you can just completely make it hands-off. It's a very passive business model once it's up and running. The downsides of this business model is obviously the high compliance, fire doors, alarms, safety search. That may need to be in place for the provider to be able to take on the property, and that might be your job to facilitate that, but not always the case. This is a numbers game as well. Although I don't deem this a downside, it's still potentially a downside. So you need to build relationships with the providers. That is a numbers game. So you're going to be making many phone calls, joining many Zooms, finding out what they need, where you can fit in to bring properties to them. You know, they're experts at providing care. They're not experts at finding properties. So you need to find that gap and a provider that you feel like you can work with as well. So that's not really a downside, but the downside is it's a numbers game. You're going to be doing a lot of phone calls. Another downside is the lack of control, because you've rented that property from the landlord. That's in your contract, and then you've subleased it to the social housing provider, but they control who lives there. They are in full control of that house, but it's still your responsibility because you've leased it from the landlord. So that could be a downside. And the way to handle that is all of the upfront referencing to do on the social housing provider. This strategy is amazing for people who want stable income, hands off, like make it passive. The social housing provider does all of the operations. If you are happy to invest time up front into getting the relationships built with the providers and doing the viewing, a bit like the other strategies, it's quite hands-on at the front end. And then we have strategy number 4, which is rent-to-rent deal sourcing. This is where you find rent-to-rent deals, you secure them with the landlord, then you package and sell them to investors. Or there's another element which is co-deal sourcing, where you find a deal sourcer who isn't great at finding investors, but they have deals to sell. You sell the deal and you split the fee 50-50. The average deal sells for £3,000. The good sides of this is there's no long-term contracts or management, no tenants to manage, no guests to manage, no nothing to manage. It's fast pound, it's quick cash flow, 3k per deal. As long as you're consistent with it, you can make quite a decent living off of this. You can certainly build this while working a full-time job. The downsides of this, and I think the downsides of this are quite significant, because you need to build trust. And how do you build trust? Consistency over time, posting on social media, being present in the property community. Like, you are the go-to person if people want to buy deals. And it requires a lot of input on making content, posting on social media, going to networking events. Deal sourcing has a bad reputation. There's a lot of people doing this. They seem to be doing it. And there's a lot of scammers out there as well. You've got to provide real value. Contracts, negotiation, compliance. This is a sales job. If you hate the fact of being in sales or calls, talking to strangers, doing outreach, then this is not for you. This is for people who love finding deals, love talking to landlords, love talking to people in the property community, love putting themselves on the front line without any reward immediately happening. This is also people that want fast cash with no commitments. So if you're watching this and thinking which strategy is best for me, I've got a free training that breaks this all down. Link is in the description. It shows you exactly how to choose based on your goals, lifestyle, and your risk appetite. So the truth is that nobody tells you guys in any content there's no best strategy. There's only the best fit for you. And I know that's possibly not the thing you want me to say or the thing that you want to hear, but let me just summarize it in this way. If you love high cash flow and can handle fast-paced operations, then serviced accommodation for you. If you want structure and control and consistency, go HMO. If you want passive cash flow, fewer headaches, social housing. And if you want to make 3k a month at least, with no commitments, no responsibility, then deal sourcing is the best one for you. The biggest mistake I see is people trying to do all of it, right? You become a jack of all trades, master of none. So pick one, have tunnel vision on one strategy, then go all in. Once you've learned that strategy, then divert to another one. Be slightly open-minded to other opportunities that might arise, because this is rent to rent. You're going to be speaking to agents and landlords. They might turn around and say, okay, I know you're focusing on HMO, but I have a 3-bed flat over here, which is suitable for company let. So you need to be slightly open-minded to go into other routes, but kind of stay focused on one path. So most people think rent to rent is just one thing, but when you understand the 4 different strategies and pick the one that fits you, that's when it actually works. So watch my free training in the description, click the link if you want to go deeper, see the contract, the step-by-step process, real student examples. You'll walk away knowing exactly how to get started the right way. If you found this interesting, then click this video before YouTube sends you to a randomer's channel to watch a random video. See you on the next one.